Today we're going to be talking about lesson 3.4 on solving equations using multiplication or division. So some key things that we're going to need to remember is that we need to use inverse operations, which are opposites. And we need to make sure that we're balancing the scale. So remember, whatever happens on one side has to happen on the other side of the equal sign as well. So let's take a look at a few problems. So here we have x over 5 equals -2. And we need to remember that that fraction bar can also mean division. So what is the opposite of division? Well, the opposite of division is to multiply. So instead of dividing by 5, we're going to multiply by 5 on each side. So when we multiply and divide by 5, they cancel out. That's why we use those inverse operations. So on the left-hand side, we're left with x. -2 times 5. Negative times a positive is a negative, and 2 times 5 is 10. So x is equal to -10. Now, if we look at number 2, we have -a equals -24. Now, remember, what goes in front of a variable if there is no coefficient? If you're thinking a 1, you're correct. So this is like -1a. So in order to solve, -1 and a are being multiplied. So we need to divide. So we're going to divide by -1. When we do that, this will cancel, and we're left with a. Negative divided by a negative is a positive, and 24 divided by 1 is 24. Now here, see that we use that fraction bar to show division, which is what you should be doing as well. On the third one, we have 3 equals -1.5n. Now remember that -1.5n and n are being multiplied by each other since there's no operation. So go ahead and give this one a try and come back when you're ready. You should have divided by -1.5 on both sides. A positive divided by a negative is a negative. 3 divided by 1.5 is 2. And we can cancel our 1.5s here. So we have n. So -2 is equal to n. Now let's take a look at the following three. So here we have -14 equals 2/3 x. So we can see here that these are being multiplied. 2/3 and x are being multiplied. But we should also know that we can't divide by a fraction, and dividing would be the inverse operation. But instead of dividing by a fraction, we can multiply both sides by the reciprocal. So the reciprocal of 2/3 is 3/2. Remember that whole numbers always go over a 1. Positive times a negative is a negative, and you can cross cancel here to multiply. 3 times 7 is 21. Now, when we do this, we can cross cancel again. 1 times 1 is 1, and 1 times 1 is 1. So we have 1x, or x. So -21 equals x. The same thing on the second one. We can't divide by a fraction, so we multiply by the reciprocal. Remember that those whole numbers go over 1. We can cross cancel. Remember that a negative times a negative is a positive. So we have b equals positive times a negative is a negative. 5 times 5 is 25. And 1 times 8 is 8. Now we don't want to leave our answer as an improper fraction. So remember that we have to put that top number inside the house. 8 goes into 25 3 times, and we have 1 left over. So our answer is going to be -3 1/8. Now go ahead and give the third one a try on your own and come back when you're ready. Remember that the opposite of multiplication is division, but since we can't divide by a fraction, we are going to multiply by that reciprocal of 8 over 3. Positive times a positive is a positive. We can cross cancel, and we're left with h. Negative times positive is that negative. And again, we can cross cancel. 3 times 8 is 24 over 1. So h is equal to negative 24. Now let's go ahead and take a look at the last one for today. So it says the record low temperature in Hawaii is negative 0.15 times the record low temperature in Alaska. The record low temperature in Hawaii is 12 degrees Fahrenheit. What is the record low temperature in Alaska? So remember that we're trying to find the temperature in Alaska. So I'm going to use the variable A. So we know that the record low temperature in Hawaii is negative 0.15 times the temperature in Alaska. So what is the temperature in Hawaii? Well, the temperature in Hawaii is 12. Is our equal sign negative 0.15 times of Alaska. So negative 0.15 times A, or negative 0.15A. Now, since these are being multiplied, remember that we have to use that inverse operation, which is to divide. Dividing by the same number here will cancel, so we're left with A because a negative times a negative is a positive. Now we need to take 12 and divide by 0.15. Remember that you have to move your decimal. 12 can't go, or 15 can't go into 1 or into 12. It can go into 120. Let's see here. 8 times. 8 times 5 is 40. 8 times 1 is 8 plus 4 is 12. We subtract and we have 0 left over. We bring down our 0 and we know that 15 can't go into 0. Bring that decimal point straight up. Positive times a negative, positive divided by that negative is a negative. So our answer is negative 80. So A equals negative 80. So we can say that we know that the record low temperature in Alaska is negative 80 degrees.